Hey guys, Hugh Shang here. Welcome to another Hugh Shang Tutorials video. In this guide, we're going to be taking a look at a Terran vs Zerg I played on the ladder recently. And if you're new to the channel, I'm a Grandmaster with all three races, and I'm trying to do quite a bit of content, teach you guys how to play. So recently, I've been trying to get some Terran games, which is why I wasn't posting videos. I was trying to get some good examples of, good play. And what I realized is I'm actually making so many mistakes in all my games, and I'm trying to find a good game that's like at my Protoss level so I can show you guys perfect examples. But realistically, in Master 1, I'm still making tons of mistakes. So what I've decided is, you know what? I'm just going to show you guys some games I don't think are perfect, but we can talk about my mistakes, show what I did wrong as well as what I did right, and maybe that's even better for teaching you guys anyways. Okay, so I did a SCV scout. This guy was random, so this SCV scout is quite a bit earlier than normal. But I see that he's playing normal, hatch first into pool. And so back at home, we're going to grab our CC on the low ground. You can pretty much do that all the time, unless it's a 12 pool anyways. Grabbing our depot. I believe this game I am playing a Hellion Liberator build. Actually, probably I should be doing a video on the transition here, the 3 racks transition. So maybe I'll do that in a couple days, because I don't think I covered that yet. I covered the opening if you want to go check out that guide, but I don't think I covered the transition. But anyways, we got a Reaper. We're going to go scout and make sure that our opponent is getting a third hatch, make sure they're not doing any sort of early Ling rushes. And then behind this, we're getting a Marine to shoo away the Overlord. We got our factory on the way. We're going to transition that over to the reactor for Hellions. Okay, so this Reaper sees some Lings, which is normal. I'm doing a bit of cutting. Honestly, this is kind of useless if you don't know your build well. And that's actually going to be a theme later, is I kind of get carried away with some micro in this game. And that's probably the #1 mistake I see Terran players making when I'm coaching, is that they're over microing, and I think it's much easier with Terran to over micro compared to Zerg and Protoss, because it's not like it's so easy to try and micro with Terran when it's really negligible to the game outcome, whereas with Protoss and Zerg it's kind of more obvious when you should fight and when you should be microing in the main battles. But with Terran you can always do more pressure, and a lot of the time it's not necessary. So here I am microing against these Zerglings for literally no reason, and I thought I transitioned this over, but I totally didn't. So my Hellions are like really late. So that was a huge mistake on my part. And oh, let me turn that off. Yeah, normally I don't make this mistake, but this was like first thing in the morning, and you know what? Sometimes you just get carried away. So it's really important to make sure you're not over microing with Terran specifically, but obviously the other races as well. So here's kind of annoying with the Lings, but we managed to kind of deal with this, just losing a little bit of mining time. No big deal. And then we're back into our normal build. So based on this, I basically decided this game that I'm gonna try and focus on not microing too much in this game, and just focus on solid macro and maybe some more multitasking stuff, but not as much on the micro. And so that's a theme that I wanted to practice here. And that's another thing. If you guys are trying to win your games, you're not playing correctly, or you're not learning correctly, rather. Because if you're trying to win, you're not improving. I mean, you're trying to win, so you're trying to win, right? And so that's good if you're playing a tournament, or if you want to maybe test your limits on ladder, see how high you can get. But realistically, it's really bad for learning. It's much, and there's a lot of evidence on this as well, like research, where if you're learning, or if you're playing to learn, you're going to improve much faster than if you're playing to play and playing to win. Okay, so we set up this Hellion attack. Again, if you guys want to copy this build, I do have a guide on my channel. So we come over here, we see some queens. Let me go to my vision so you guys can see what I'm doing here. We'll play it on normal speed so it's not too crazy. And so I have the Liberator in the back, and I'm just checking to see if he's making mistakes. So I'm not committing just to commit. I'm using these Hellions to look for openings, and I'm trying to, get some damage to the Liberator in the meantime, but mostly just kind of distracting him seeing what damage I can get done. If I get no damage, that's totally fine. But obviously this is doing pretty good. We got like 6 kills. So I'm transitioning over into 3 racks, double. Let me turn this off so some of you guys aren't getting whiplash. So I'm going over into 3 racks, double eBay. And this is just a very common transition. Again, I'll probably do a very specific guide on that within a day or two. So I did run my Hellions in here. I don't know if this is a good choice. It ended up being okay, but I think it's overly risky and it's overly taxing, especially if you're not doing this transition perfectly. Now in my case, I think I'm doing pretty okay. Maybe I could have started the Marines a little faster or something, but I think my transition's pretty okay. If you're not comfortable with the transition, you should never micro your Hellion. You should honestly just leave them back here. It's much more beneficial. Okay, so I'm grabbing the 3rd CC. I do have Stim almost done, so this isn't too risky, but it's a lot safer with the Hellions. Got our combat shield. We're basically setting up for a big push, and the idea is that Zerg is getting a lot of their upgrades. So Zerg is getting like 1-1, and they're going to be getting Bane speed, and so what we can do is try to hit a timing right before they get those crucial upgrades and maybe trade a bit, or trade beneficially for us. And behind this, we'll set up for our mid-late game type composition. So I have another factory going down. I have 2 more barracks going down. Here you can see our 1-1 is finishing up. Our combat shield is going to be done soon. And we have 3 tanks. So this is just a really, really solid time to do a push if you want. You don't have to do this push, but I do think it's a pretty good timing to hit if you want to hit one. And then behind this, I'll grab my 4th CC. I'm gonna go into Widow Mines, is preferable. Okay, actually I'm gonna pause right here because I think this is another mistake that people make. Is you try to rush onto creep here and try to go for some kills, get a base. But realistically, this is a pretty small army. Like, even though it's a pretty good timing with 1-1 in combat shield, it's not a very big army. And so if your goal is to try to, run into their base here, you're probably going to get stomped, especially if they're a good Zerg that actually has their, maybe their Banian speed upgrade, maybe they went for a fast layer, you could be in a lot of trouble. So we want to really take our time here. We could go on this side as well, might be a little easier to pressure, but we want to take our time here and not rush onto creep. This isn't really designed to kill them. So we come in here, we clear some creep. Now, normally what I do is just stay here because they can try to go for your tanks. And so that ends up being a little sketchy. But what I was thinking was maybe if he goes for my tanks, I can try to make a play over here and just stim around into his 3rd. So I think that's maybe not a good idea, but I wanted to try it. So I come here, clear some creep. I mean, this is going very good already. If you just back up here, this is totally fine. And again, I don't think at this point I'm over microing because this is pretty critical, but probably I didn't need to do as much stutter step to clear the creep here. So this could have been a good point for me to move in this direction, scan, of course, but then focus back on my production during this. So if I could just have my hotkeys selected while watching these units, I can easily macro some of this money away. So that's definitely something I should do. And that's, again, over microing. And what do we get for it? Like, we killed the creep tumors 2 seconds faster. So not really a good use of my time right there. And then the idea is just to hold this position and set up my mine/marauder transition. Get my 4th base up. Not really, overexert myself on the map. Even though I over micro there, my goal is still to not push the boundaries too much and just focus on good, clean play. So I can see a lot of Terrans just like stimming in here, continuing to harass the Ling Bane and just forcing a very heavy multitasking game, but I don't think it's very good for learning. I mean, you're gonna get supply blocked a ton. I'm even getting supply blocked here, and so it's gonna take you a lot longer to learn if you do that. Okay, so we got 2 attacks coming here. I am going to use a pretty advanced micro technique in a second, so I'll explain that. But basically, I just wanted to set up 2 attacks here and start abusing these mines a little bit. The more chaotic you can make the game with mines, the better, because it's very, very difficult for Zerg to deal with those, to micro against them. So small groups are actually very good with mines. But here's the point I wanted to show you. So I'm not going to over micro this too much, but what I am going to do is very specific micro. So I have these tanks in another key. This is pretty easy to do if you have alt set up. So you can do like alt tilde or something, or alt Q, alt tab. Probably not alt tab actually, that's going to kick you out of Starcraft. But alt tilde or alt Q, you can put a control group on those. And then what that does is just take the tanks off your main control group. And so you can target different things with the tanks. So in this case, I'm going to click on the Banes and shift click. So these should be shift attack moved. And so that way, if there was a lot of Lings, these tanks can kill the Banes and the Marines can focus the Lings. And then you have both your unit compositions doing exactly what you want. So here, I'm focusing on this side. And what I did was I just move commanded them here. Or what I should have done was move commanded them here, so I'm not over microing this. And it probably would have done just as good. So again, wasting a little bit of time there. Probably what I should be doing is adding on 3 more barracks. This is a good position. So we get this hatchery. I mean, this is Master 1 play, and so, I mean, I'm not doing anything too fancy here, I don't think. I'm doing just very clean macro, and maybe setting up some multiple attacks, but I'm not splitting like Maru, which is important actually. You don't want to be splitting like Maru at this level. That's something for like top 16 GM in certain situations. You really don't want to be splitting like crazy at this level, because that means you're doing other stuff really poorly. Okay, I set up a drop. Ideally, I think what I want to be doing is just shift queuing this to a drop point and then just forgetting about it until maybe I need to stim. And then coming over here, stimming real quick and not really giving that a lot of my attention. Then we group up with this force. I got some more mines coming in. The game is pretty over from here, to be honest, but you got to be careful that you don't throw. So I wanted to play this fairly slowly. Get a distraction over here. So I did stim this, and I think I did a good job actually in this case, not watching. So I mean, maybe these, yeah, I mean, the Banelings did pretty good. Maybe you could have edged it a little bit there, but I don't think it's worth it overall in the grand scheme of things. So here we set up our mines. So here's a position we do need to split a little bit. It's a main fight. We want to take a good trade here. So that is a good place to micro if you are going to micro. But this is probably one of the few points in the game where it's actually worth it. I'm kind of teaching you guys, and I'm kind of telling myself, stop microing. As a Protoss who's like 6k, I'm telling you guys, the micro is really, really small, even at this MMR. It's a lot about getting the production cycles, getting your extra racks when you need them, hitting the right SUV counts, and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful. I kind of didn't want to show you guys. I don't know why, in retrospect, watching this game, because it's not that bad, but I felt like there was tons of mistakes, and I was like, man, I need to play a perfect game before I show you guys. But I think from now on, I'm just going to show you guys, you know, whatever game I play that day, whatever one is most instructional. So you guys get some more content. That's the plan. So hopefully you like this. Like, subscribe, tell me in the comments if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.